All right, we are live. Pittsburgh Fighters Guild Longsword class, July 13th, 2023. How much hard drive space do you have? It's 400 gigs per hour. Yeah. Bro, I bring the big time equipment. You got to have the. I'm just fucking with you. It's 400 gigs an hour, yeah. That part was serious. Me giving you shit was fake. Yeah. It's all my work stuff, but I only need it for conferences. So it just lives at my house. So yeah, I'm the director of technology. So all that shit lives in my house.
All of it?
Yeah,
In the whole world?
for my company. Yeah. Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, you're the entire world's director of technology.
Thank you. All right. So instead of warming up, well, let's kind of review some of the stuff I've been going over, because this I hate WMA on Reddit, but sometimes good questions come out of there. And somebody actually just asked this on Hemastrong, and the idea was like, how do I get more hip use out of my cuts? So what we're gonna do is, for this purposes, I'm gonna stand here. So what I'll do is I'll show the camera my ass, and then I'll stand to the side when I'm demonstrating techniques. So we briefly went over this. My general idea as I've been continued education on my part is that your default fighting positions should be ones where you can be still, you can relax, and the idea is like I'm down here. I've always fought from here, and it just felt natural to me. But the idea is that like I could do this forever. Like this requires no muscular tension. So the idea is that I'm still, I'm relaxed, and then I tense, right? I have a guard for high, low, and middle that does the same thing. So this is the short guard. It's kind of like plow, but it's Fiore's brevet guard, just kind of in the middle. And then what we covered last week, I know I sent you guys the stream. The idea was, Vomtog can be up here, Vomtog can be here, Vomtog can be here, Vomtog. It's all kinds of different things. But the relaxed Vomtog position is just rested here, right? You could hold this all day. But the difference is, I'll go this way, instead of just having your body straight, this is an invitation to get thrusted. And we saw that at the Blood on the River test. The one guy was standing like this, and he let his hands get really low, and he got thrusted against him for control points like 4 or 5 times. So the idea was, instead, you turn here this way, and then this allows you to quickly cut out. So that way the idea is that you can stand here all day. This looks like what Fiore looks like in the manuals. We see Lichtenauer examples of people standing like this. So it makes sense biomechanically. It allows you to be fast, and it allows you to relax. And then by keeping your cross guard in your armpit, depending on the length of your cross guard and the size of your armpits, like for example, Derby has one of the Siggies with the huge cross guards, not as comfortable. And historically swords were probably not sharpened all the way down to here. So it's fine, right? So again, this way you can just kind of relax here all day. You can shift your balance a little bit farther forward, and that just kind of allows you to explode outwards with your cuts. And then you can just come back to relax. By also having your hands in line and having your hands close to your body and your arms close to your body, you're not presenting any targets, and you're going to have strength in a center bind. So the important thing I wanted to cover before we go into the drill I want to do today is using your hips. So, sorry, still getting used to having the camera there. So the way we deal with hip engagement is we can start here, right? So this is our iron gate. The idea is this hip is the hinge of the gate. And in order to, obviously the sword has to move first, but we want to bring our foot off of the ground and twist it to allow our hip to move. Depending on your individual hip anatomy, wider is generally better. I mean, there's obviously a point where at this point what the hell are you doing? But this is why we teach you don't want to be here, because if you're trying to engage your hips, there's nowhere for your hips to go. You don't have enough width to actually rotate your hip, because it's just going to be bone on bone at that point. So depending on what's comfortable for you, again, you kind of want to have your weight shifted forward slightly. Part of the reason of that is if you're all the way back fully upright, and you need to come forward to step, that's a tell that you're going to step. So if you already shift your weight 60-40 or so, don't stress over the numbers, just a little bit forward weighted. That removes that aspect of having to do a tell because you're already there. So the idea is move the sword first and then just come off of that back foot and let the foot come out like that. Is that unstable if you're just cutting this way? I wouldn't worry about it, but the idea is that there are only going to be a couple situations where you would do this and stop, right? Like the example would be the parry of if Tan swings at me, right? I wouldn't just like we see the pictures in the manuals, they don't ask you to stand like that and stay there. They're just kind of freeze frames, right? So that's like an action shot in the middle. As far as for this drill, what we're targeting is I'll do it this way. Is instead of cutting all the way back up into ox like this, you can do that. We cut into Fiore's frontale guard, which is also crown in Lichtenauer. It's lesser used. It only shows up in 1 or 2 plays in Lichtenauer. You could consider crown anything like the cross guard is at your like nose level or clavicle level. So the idea is you can be here, right? Or you can also be out. So for this particular cut that we're practicing, you want to end up like in this position. And that's actually how Fiore's first play works, is that you cut into that and then you flick your point in for the thrust. So the basic idea of this drill, and we'll apply this to the Vom-Tog cut in a moment, is that as long as you're getting the sword point out in front of you and you're coming up off of your heels like this, the sword should be dragging you forward and wanting to step. So we're just isolating the point of getting the hip involved, which by doing so in practice will allow us to actually do that muscle memory wise when we step with the cut. So to break that down, it would be move the sword. So we're loose, right? And then we tense up with the foot. And then we can either, at this point, because I push my momentum with the sword forward first, my body wants to step, right? It just feels natural to step at that point. But in practice, you can just swing and work on isolating that hip movement. Once you start doing this, you'll find that the sword kind of wants to flow a little bit more. It has momentum. It's actually more work to slow it down. So that's kind of why the idea is like once you hit someone's sword with it, the next thing to do is just naturally continue the movement. Or you'll see a lot of Fiore stuff. I see Lichtenauer people doing it too, but I also see people coming out of Lichtenauer style training where it's very like choppy, like you have to arrest the momentum all the time. This type of hip engagement kind of drives being more flowy. So like, it just feels better to bring it all the way up. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so applying that to Vom-Tog, I'm just going to cover it briefly. So because the live stream is there if you want to break it down. So we're same position, right? We're in our resting Vom-Tog, right? And same concept. We want to make sure the sword tip is moving first. Then we want to go to full extension. We're going to cut to long point with this, just for the type of cut that it is. And then we're going to push that foot up to rotate the hip. So just that part. And then we're going to step with it. So it'll look like this. Yeah. So the idea is that this should be fast, not require as much energy, and it should win the center line.
All right, bring it in real fast.
If you find it doesn't feel right as far as being straight out, you can cut it like a Zornhau, and I'll show the camera. So the difference between a straight on cut to long point like this is that in that case, if I cut at you straight ahead, I'd have to win the bind with strength. But if I cut it like a Zornhau, where I cut across the body, I win the center with structure. So that's a cut across the body with structure. And that way it kind of lets you, I feel like almost cutting directly to the middle is almost kind of arresting your momentum a little bit because you can really put your ass into it if you're cutting across the body. Yeah, and that's anybody that doesn't have structure, you'll blow through them regardless of how strong they are. Yeah, okay. So let's do a couple of those. Do it without the step and try to cut across the body. So we're here, we're relaxed. If you're concerned about how the blade angle, we want like a 45-degree angle so that a couple things to look for if you record yourself cutting. What we don't want to do is we don't want to bring the sword up to cut, to tell, and we don't want to have to, we don't want the hands to move first. So if you want to like fine tune your resting Vomtog, is that make sure the sword tip moves first, that your hands don't come down, don't go up, and don't go forward first. So the idea is that like you're eliminating all of your tells. So yes, every single variant of Vomtog is valid, but I'm trying to optimize to like what can you do that is simple, is following the principle of being martially effective, meaning like the least amount of energy used for the most effect. And that's why I'm like using these as like my new default positions, right? So that way, like you can practice these. And when we talk about tournaments, you don't win tournaments by memorizing every single technique. You become a better fighter by like going hard on the basics, which means like a couple guard variations that you're good at and you can launch attacks from, doing point control and being able to parry, like hanging parry, parry or post, and then just having some bread and butter techniques that you just drill and do things like take a video of yourself and fine tune those little tiny things. Because it's better to be really good at a handful of techniques than just be like, have an only basic understanding of all of them. So that's one thing is that we can add to this is the idea of, you know, when you do cut all the way out, your shoulders roll forward out of their sockets naturally when you're at full extension. And when we step, we want to come back into that position of structure. Depending on your arm size, your rib cage size, you want to come back to just where the arms feel supported. You can play with the timing so that when you cut and you're back up, you're up off your heel, and then you step, you can kind of move into the range that you're creating, so that like for example, your cut, full extension, step, and then as your foot lands, you have completed that withdraw back into structure. Play with that a little bit. I just want to see. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to come all the way down, Frank. You can think of it as like, okay, if your frontale is here, it's just coming back to this. Yeah. So what we want to avoid is cutting into that. We want to hit that full extension. And then as we move forward, we've already cast the point out in front of us to keep ourselves safe. But that move into structure is anticipation of a bind, or we're turning the cross guard to keep our hands safe if we thrust. So everything we're doing in this like sequence is either to cast the point out first, keep us safe, remove tells, be efficient with energy, and then set up our next attack. You can play around with the speed, you know, depending on what aspect you want to work on. You're like, okay, I feel like I'm really fast off the shoulder, but my footwork needs work. You can work on that aspect. Or if you're like, I just want to get faster to get my point out there, because that really matters, right? So you can kind of fine tune the different parts you want to work on. So if you care more about getting the point out first, don't do the step yet until you get that. I found myself turning back this way. So I'm lucky enough that I can look in the mirror, because there's a mirror right here. So use it when I'm not in front of it, and then you can just turn sideways. Mirror training is very helpful, because when you're training here and there's no mirror, only I see what you're doing. But you know, standing in front of the mirror is really helpful, because I was just able to make an adjustment for myself. All right, let's take a 2-minute water break. All right, so we're still take your 2-minute break, but the next thing is we're gonna do parry and riposte drills that are almost like a game. So we can do it with steel and mask and gloves, or we can do it with foam. I think foam might be better for this, just to start.
Wasn't that a cartoon squirrel foaming?
It sounds familiar.
Cartoons from the internet, like Newgrounds and shit.
Yeah, that does sound very familiar. All right, I think we're just gonna go with foam because oh, I have one. I brought my own foam. Grab foam. All right. All right. So what we're gonna do is I am borrowing these drills from two of the Philadelphia clubs. They collaborate all the time, so they have a channel that there's a website. It's called Game Design for HEMA, and the YouTube channel for the Philadelphia people. What they do is they took some of the games and they filmed example videos for it. So their teaching methodology is that people learn better through games. It kind of goes in the face of like sparring is not winning, but it's drilling. So sparring is not winning is still true, but the idea is by making it a game, it just makes everyone easier to learn. So what we're going to do is, Malin, if you want to come up here, you could be my example. I'm attacker. Malin is defender. Now, as the attacker, I'm going to get as close as I can. And the goal here is Malin can only parry. That's it. I can only attack. All right? But I can't move to do an attack. So the idea is at this distance, this is quick draw distance, right? I should be able to hit Malin. All right? So one of us is going to win. Okay? If he parries me, I move forward. If I hit him, I move back. So there's a winner to every single exchange. So I'm just going to hit you light, but I'm going to be fast, okay? Anywhere on the body's fine. So you could parry me, but you can't hit me. And you can't move, I can't move, okay? You ready? I mean, I can step with my cut once I'm farther out of distance, but I can't move in and out of range. Like, I am constrained to this range for the exchange. Ready? Yep. Okay, so I have to move back. Ready? Did I hit you? Okay. Did I hit you? Ready? So I move back. Did it hit you? Okay. So you can play with any of the strikes, but the idea is that you should be able to launch the strikes from. Did it get you? Okay. So you can, as it gets more difficult to land a strike from farther away, because you know if I'm back here and I only throw Oberhaus. Yeah. So the idea is like you're basically allowing, by the defender not moving, and only parrying, you're finding your sweet spot of where your quickness doesn't matter anymore, and you have to come up with a better game plan. So there are a couple variations of this, but let's partner up and let's play with it. So we'll go over the variations real quick, but we're going to do that one first. So that we'll go over the first two together. We'll break up and we'll go over them. We'll do them and then we'll come back. So come back. The next variation is that I get an attack on, no, I get a prep step. So meaning I'm here, I can have one half step to strike. But if he hits me, he can hit me in the hands into my attack on prep, or he can attack on prep. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
So he catches you stepping in.
Just to my hands though. Yeah, before I could, and if the attacker wins all doubles though. Yeah. So I get one. Okay. Got my hands. Okay, let's try this. Let's start with the one where it's just the distance and I want to watch. Go slow at first because the goal of this is to just get used to the drill and start to learn where you are able to parry an attack at different distances. So pair up. If you'd like, add masks if you want to go a little bit harder, but it's up to you. Yeah, what I would recommend doing is find the distance for the attacker that you can actually hit the shoulder without even going with a full step. So that I would even get a little bit closer. Yeah. So the idea is because we don't have masks on, we just don't want to hit hard. It should just be a tap, right? But at this distance, because you're initiating the action, unless Ina is like the master of swords, you should be able to hit her. But then when you win the exchange, you're rewarded by having to step back. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now you have to take a, yep. So now, when you get too close, the attacker should be fast enough to hit the parrier.
Okay.
Did it hit you? Yeah, okay. So now you have to take, yeah. So take a full step back. Yeah. So the idea is as you hit or don't get hit, you move back and forth. So you're finding the range at which you can be effective as an attacker, and then you're finding the range where you need a different game plan because it's easier to defend.
There is a point where we just
There's going to be a point where you're going to need to be like leaping, right? So like let's say I'm back here, and I want to try to hit you. So you're the defender, right? Yeah, exactly. But you can't move as the defender. What? Switch roles after like 10. Switch roles after like 10. Yeah. So remember, if you miss and get parried, you need to get to move in a step. What's that? If you win, he has to move closer. Yeah. And then after you've done like 10 total switch rolls. Yep. Yeah. Hands count. Yeah, hands count. Wait, you just hit him, didn't you? Or did he parry that? Okay, all right. Just play with it. Yeah, it doesn't have to just be only cuts. You can get as fancy as you want to. Sure. Good. So last time, that distance you were just at, you were having trouble figuring out what to do. So now you figured it out. So now you're kind of like finding your sweet spot of where you need to have some game plans. Yeah, yeah. So like you're.
This is out of my range.
You think?
Yeah.
You can step with your cut.
Oh, I can step.
You can step with your cut. Yeah. Yeah. So now take a step back. Bigger one. Yeah, perfect. So when you take a step back, like if you're here, take a full step. So just for clarity, real quick, some of the aspect of the foam is like the bounciness, and this is the negative of foam, but it also means we don't have to put on full kit. With steel, you know, your structure can blow through someone else's structure, and that'll be a bigger factor. So just keep that in mind, and you know, if anybody feels like doing that, that's certainly an option, and it will change things slightly. But so just keep that in mind. It's one of those training artifacts I'm always going on about. Did you guys switch yet? Switch. Go ahead, switch.
Oh, shit.
Have you switched yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
See, I shouldn't have given away my time.
You can start if you feel comfortable with the drill and like you're able to understand like okay, like at this range I have some work to do.
Yeah. That's where I'm at right now.
Okay, because you can always add the step, the prep step.
Yeah, but then he's gonna crack.
That tells you to get him out of the way. Remember? Yeah. You hit him, right? Move back.
It's kind of like I give you.
Okay. All right. Don't move, Tian. The defender has to stay still. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It's hard to do, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Go! Oh, fuck.
It's okay. You'll get used to it.
Wait, can I switch my lap?
Like you mean like if you're just like this? That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. If you hit him, move back. You hit him again? Move back more.
Oh, shit. I hit like it.
Did he hit you again?
Oh, no, he didn't.
Okay.
I just stepped back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the goal is like what you're getting out of this too is you're like, okay, you're starting to get some confidence. Like when he's that far away, I have a lot of options. Like I don't have to do anything fancy. I could just parry and not get hit. I could just displace his thrust. Yeah. And he's learning like I need to be really picky about what I do back here because if I don't pick the right action and it's telegraphed at all, you can pick them apart. Yeah. That was a foam artifact because it just bounced right into his head. Like it might have gone differently with steel. Okay, so you guys are naturally going into the next step where you have the prep step, right? So if we're at a distance and I'm attacking you, I get a step forward to like change my distance, and you can attack my hands if I'm not careful. So like, for example,
Wait, I can do the after blow?
this is drill 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. After this current exchange, bring it in. All right. What does everyone think? Yeah. Cool. Has anyone tried the prep step?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had a chance to try the prep step? Okay.
Especially with this kid.
Yeah. A sniper. All right. So some other variations we can do. So let's do let's switch partners. And what we're gonna do is attacker gets a prep step, okay? The defender can attack into the prep on more than just hands this time. So that means that if I'm here and I attack here, as soon as I move forward like that, Malin can attack me. But I have priority on my strikes because I'm moving into attack range. I still win doubles. So yeah. We're not doing a riposte yet, but as I move into range, you can attack me. So I hit you, so I have to back up. So I'm here. My only movement is one prep step, right? So he can attack me at this distance. So I didn't hit, I moved forward. Yep. You're good. You're good. It's foam.
2 strikes.
No.
Yeah, I did.
It's so part of this is you've all trained well enough that like your instincts are to defend yourself, step back, and return attack. So part of this is constraining yourself a little bit to get something out of that constrainment, right? So that's kind of why it's gonna be difficult to constrain yourself. That's why we're adding it back in stages. So I don't want you leaving with the last thing you've done is forcing yourself to not move or return a strike. That's why we're kind of layering it back in. Does that make sense? So it's gonna take a little bit to be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have hit back. That's fine. Just don't hit the microphone. I did hit you. Damn, this is really far away. So that was a double. Yeah, okay. So now I have to go all the way back here. Way too far. All right, go ahead and try that. The next thing we'll add on after you've done at least a couple exchanges is the defender can parry and then strike back. So then the attacker will need to get out of the way. But that'll be, do a couple of just the defender can attack into prep, and then we'll add that one on.
So the defender has to stay still.
Defender still has to stay still, yeah. You two can come, well, we're switching, if you don't want to switch partners, that's fine, but try to go this way or move away from the wall a little bit. You're making me nervous. I know you can't move back, but
Nice.
He moved his blade around like this, and you kind of cut over into his hand. Worth trying.
What am I supposed to do? Like,
I think if you're too far to reach, you won.
Yeah,
all right.
that's a good thing. If you feel you're too far to reach and you don't feel like jumping around like an idiot, then just switch. Did you everyone hear that? If you feel that you're too far to reach and you don't feel like jumping around like an idiot like I do, you can switch roles at that point.
No, it's funny.
Okay.
It is fun.
Yeah.
That's good. Wait, I should move forward, right?
Oh boy. Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna tell you to do that. Nice.
Oh,
Oh, you didn't hit. I think when you get out of range, you should switch.
That's what I said.
He's still just doing the explosive, like,
Any attack you like.
anything?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, did I just go grapple oriented?
No grappling. When you, this is great. When you're both that close, it almost feels like one of those slap fights. You ever watch those, where people are like getting ready to do the slap fight? You're both like, ugh.
Yeah.
Good. As you're doing stuff like this and you're asking questions like you are, please keep doing that, because like when you find yourself in a situation like, hey, can I do this? Please ask, because like I'd rather you try to play with that stuff. It's never meant to be this like static thing. So that they've started like naturally falling into feints, and that's okay. Okay, that was kind of my hope, that everyone would kind of figure it out, but good, good. If you're ready for the defender to defend and riposte, go for it.
Is that what you meant?
Sure.
What did you actually mean? Am I going or you?
Well, you hit him, right? No, it hit. Back up.
I keep on scared, like I won't move the leg, but like I'm not really supposed to move.
Yeah. You could slip your leg. Just don't step back. So you win doubles, so you move back. Yeah.
wait.
What was that? Oh, it was the mat.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, what happened?
Probably.
Did you see that?
No.
He was like 2 feet away from me.
Well, they did that a bunch. They're standing like this over here. They're like this.
Choose time, right? No, okay.
So if you haven't already, start adding parry and then return, like riposte. If you guys haven't already, start adding a riposte after you defend. And that counts as the defender winning.
And the opposing defender take a step.
If the defender hits with their riposte, they win.
If you take a step with the opposed, with their opposed.
Like forward, you mean? Sure. We're going to do this for one more minute, and then there's the last phase. Yeah. 10 till. You have to go? Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, cool. Nice job. It's great to see you both. I'm not 100% on Saturday. Denise is out of town, so. Yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to do the last two variations? So, defend the wall. So, the defender has to stand still and face the camera. Good. So, you get to launch 5 attacks at that distance. Okay? I defend 5 attacks. If I defend all 5, I win. If you hit me once, you win. Okay? So, I'll defend. Go slow. You win double, so that means you need to back up. No, you're not stepping in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, so I gotta just be here and just.
Yeah. You can adjust slightly so that you're within range, but yes. Yeah. Okay, so I win, which means what?
I defend now?
I don't think the distance thing is going to work for this one.
No, I have a short sword too.
Oh, okay. So I would say at that point, switch roles. Yeah, and then we'll do that for a couple minutes, and then the last step will be that I can riposte. So it basically becomes full sparring at that point, but the defender still can't move. You heading out, or are you doing this one? What? Oh, I thought you were taking your gloves off. Okay. So yeah, have a good one. Yeah.
And basically the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then when someone wins, switch roles,
Okay.
rather than doing the distance
that
game.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And we keep the same distance.
Yeah, I would say the distance that you can actually do the distance check. So like like this would be our distance, right? So I'll launch 5 attacks, you defend. So.
All right.
Get it, go. Come on, guys.
So you defended all. So you won. We switch roles.
Oh,
Yeah. So you can get a little closer, Tan, if you can. So then switch. If he gets a hit in on you, switch roles.
so you got a hit there, you immediately.
Switch. Yeah. Reset. Switch.
Can't move.
So if you are finding that it's too easy, then you can decide to separate. Like,
This is actually
so think about it. Like if you're getting hit too easily, like that just means that you're not at the right distance, right? Like for example, as a defender, you wouldn't let someone get to that distance. So then that's when you move, right?
I was gonna say, like, this is very, very difficult to stand and just without moving.
Yeah, it's a good skill to have, but we're not training the skill of standing still to defend ourselves. We're training the skill of recognizing in reaction. So if you have that skill, then you can add your footwork, and then you're even better. Yeah.
Less than a minute. After you get some good resting. Less than a minute.
You know what? The Longsword can reach and do it, all right? Not my fault.
Hold on. I can't take this step forward.
Yeah. You can. Let's. There's 5 minutes for the lesson, so let's add the defender can now riposte.
So you can approach and straight. All right, good money.
It's like the defender still cannot move backwards, so it's like this close to sparring. So we've kind of like built it up to being sparring, but we're still constraining the defender from not moving back.
Yeah, you should.
My hunch is the side effect is that the next time all of you fight, you're just gonna always want to move back now. My hunch is that the next time each of you actually spar, that you're just gonna always want to move back now after this because you're like, wow, this sucks. I'm gonna keep moving back.
Yeah, I just almost stabbed Pan right in his face.
Yeah, masks are the good idea. I would love to do this with steel at some point too.
Are you attacking?
Attacker wins doubles. Don't forget. Defender cannot move.
Did he switch?
Yeah.
Tian, don't be afraid to use that crown guard. Like I know we start Lichtenauer of like always keep your point online. If you need to keep yourself safe, you can just bring your cross guard up in front of you and move the blade. Yeah. So so like you can think of it like this or like this, and you could just if you see I'm still using my hips, you can do that. Then you can hang too. Yeah.
I'll try.
Early, so let's get pitched before she leaves. Got it so far. Shit, it's not good right now.
I'm gonna stop the recording for class. I think we got everything we need. Why don't you take Frankie's picture so Frankie can get in there, he could take ours.
Yeah. Frankie, let me take it.